Hello, and now I will once again um, try to demonstrate some new features in Ace Racers SP. So once again, as you can see, I'm running my Ultimate Space Game controller for the Ultimate in Action, and all of my new features again are on the drone. So just to list them, now the dockable weights can be a checkpoint. The dock ports can be a checkpoint. The hoops can know if you need a weight to go through them. And the bays that the weights can go into can also be a checkpoint. So what you can do is you can build out a course, and then you can use the warp ship and fly around, and if you need a weight, if you want a weight to be required in the hoop, you can just grab one the same way that you move around any normal object and move through the hoop, and then it will say this one will now need a weight. Or if you need to add a dock port, then you can move up to it and it'll prompt you to press the dock button if you would like to add it. And the same goes for the docking bays for the weights, the weight bays. So I'm just going to pop here into the asteroids, and real quickly, there's no way to do anything. So I'm just going to try to quickly load a little example that I've been working on. This has been what I've been using to test all the features while I did everything wrong that could be done wrong. Another thing that's changed that is inconsequential for the most part, but is a little bit of an important thing, is that I've changed the way that the difficulty of the ship's movement works, or the rate of the movement. So what it is that makes it go fast and slow was the mass of the vehicle would change and the power would not. Now the mass will stay the same and the power will change. And the main reason I did that is because if the mass changes, then that'll do a lot to change how the weight behaves with the vehicle. But another thing is I want to be able to in the future make it so that instead of settings for the difficulty, as you can see here, I've got low, high, very high, high. These are kind of a stand-in for the feature that I would prefer to have in the game, where you would still have settings that you could toggle to, but each setting would be fully customizable by the player. Separately, the mass of the vehicle would also be customizable. So the good example here is the game Fly Dangerous. In their dev options, you can customize the handling characteristics, the power of your vehicle. I want to have that as well. However, I want it to still have some toggleable settings, but at the present time, I have yet to ever have any experience trying to build out any kind of options at all. I have no idea how long that would take me to do, so I'm still running on the stand-in of just some presets, and hopefully then you can tolerate with the presets. And in the higher settings, if the rotation is more than you want it to be, there is a half rotation button. I forget where it is on my game controller. Half rotation does exist, and you can just either come down here and set it up yourself, or it's supposed to be set to plus. So for some reason my pause is all goofy. I've been playing with these settings too much, it doesn't matter. You'll have to go look and see what the default settings are yourself. I mostly just normally play on normal without half rotation. I use half lats, and so that decreases the lateral thrust by half. And so half rotation, where is half rotation? I don't even know. Appears to be nowhere. So, anyways, I'll just go ahead and start the race. And so right away you see, as soon as I started the race, I didn't go anywhere. If I wanted to go to the beginning of the race, which I have not set up yet, what I first need to do is cancel that. I need to switch to space mode. And then what I need to do is I need to place a reset field, and I want to place that facing the beginning of the race. And there we go. And now I want to go ahead and save that as the horse, and hopefully my horse remembers where it was. Alright, now if I get racing again and then I press the reset button, I'll pop to the reset location, and now here I am. And so you can see that this is a dockable weight, and it's got this green ball around the dock indicator, the dock port itself, the connector. And so I just very carefully fly up to the connector. I gotta get lined up just right, and I gotta get to be the right distance away, and then I can dock right there. Once you get that green square, and then you can dock, and you see right away it says the next hoop needs weight up in the top left. So there's 21 hoops in the race. The next hoop is 2. The first one I need to change that to say hoop to checkpoint, because obviously this weight is not a hoop. So then I just very carefully, because this weight is kind of heavy, so my handling is quite different, go through the first checkpoint. You see it moves me right away to the next checkpoint because this hoop right here needed a weight. So then I go through here, and nope, the next hoop still needs the weight, so I'm just flying the weight. Alright, I'm trying to come to a stop here. Oh my goodness. Quite hard with this heavy weight out on the front of the drone. The handling is quite different. And now you see that this bay lights up as a checkpoint. So with this bays, you don't need to hit a button. Once you get the weight into the bay, it'll automatically disconnect, and then your connected will go away once you get out of the connector field. But you need to go out of that connector field. I'll have to change that a little bit, but I'm not too worried about it right now. It'll be a little more clear at one point in the future. Now these hoops right there, they don't need a weight, so I'll just fly through these hoops right here. And then up ahead you see I got this checkpoint up there. It's a docking port. And so this one, it's not something you can carry around. All of these objects, they do kind of ignore physics to be here, but I'm not too worried about that. It's all about the player's interaction. Now I'm docked, and you see I can't move around, but I'm still racing. My next checkpoint is checkpoint 12, so now I can move away, and there it is. I'm just gonna go right back where I came from. So this race is down and back, and at the moment there's only one kind of race. It's an infinite loop, and that's something that I would like to change at some point in the future. Maybe the player configurable, run down the line one time or a certain number of loops, but right now it's just infinite laps. And then I get through here, and now the next checkpoint is the weight that I put into that bay. Coming to a stop here. Get lined up to dock. I'm docked, and I can see that the next checkpoint is there behind me. So let's get moving in that direction. My acceleration in a line can be pretty good with this weight on the front, but my rotation is a lot harder to control. The mass of the drone is 100, and the mass of this particular weight is only 5, so it's not that significant of an increase in mass for the acceleration to make the vehicle go faster. So with only 5 more mass out of 100, it doesn't slow you down that much. But because the weight is so far out away from the thrust, it really changes the rotation a lot. The rotation gets quite a bit more challenging. So even though you could go really fast in a line, more precise close quarters navigation gets quite a bit more slow, quite a bit more challenging. And now I'm done, and I need to add a hoop out in here so that it makes me pull away and go to another hoop. So if I was gonna say out my course, that's confusing because I don't like it. This thing right here, I just disconnect and now it's over. I want my infinite lap to make me do something else. So I'll just switch, I'll just turn the race off so I'm not racing anymore. Then I'll switch to space mode. And I want that reset location to stay the same, so then I'll disconnect from there. Let me get my hoop. So then I want to fly over here. And then I want to fly over here. Now if I want to build this out, I have to start from the beginning. I can't just add those to my course trajectory. So now, in order for me to make the course so that it knows that there's the checkpoints, because if you just put these hoops, it doesn't know what's going on. I'm still in space mode. I switched to building race mode. So now, if I want to get the weight to be a checkpoint, I go up to the weight. Now I press dock, and I can add the weight to the race, and you see my total hoops in race goes up by 1. So now, I want to grab this weight, take it with me somewhere. So I don't want to add it again, so I take it. I don't want to add that bay, not yet. I want to go through these hoops right here. So now I just take this weight, and the handling of the warp ship does actually change a little bit when you connect up to the weight. So I mean, that might be a fun little thing too as well. And you can see that it doesn't use physics, but it kind of plays a little bit more like a regular video game. So I'm going to add this bay right here, and then I want to leave the weight, because now after that I want to go through here without the weights. And then I want to get to here, and I want my checkpoint to be here, so I get up nice and close to it, and I press dock. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back where I came from, because that's how I want this race to go. So even though this is not where the weight is going to be, I can still just add it right here. It doesn't need to be in there for me to add it. Even though when I get racing I'm going to leave it there, that's not going to matter at this point. So now I just connect up to it so that I can... Oh no, what happened? I wasn't in the box. Oh no, what's going on here? Am I pushing the wrong button? Nope, I just wasn't hitting it at the right time. So that's going to be in that bay, but that doesn't matter for me to finish building out the race. So then I want to put this away, so I can press the dock button to add it. I can leave it there, and then I want to have the player finish out by going through here and going through here, and then they're going to go back and grab that weight again. But I don't need to add that because that's already the first checkpoint. So now I'm done building the race, so then I can switch back to regular mode, and I'm going to start racing. So I'll turn on my race, and so let's see if I did this correctly. So I'll just line up to the weight. Something that happens sometimes when you put this weight in there in space mode is the weight actually gets sunk back into the bay too far. And then when you connect to it, you get stuck because it's stuck. So you have to line these two pluses up just right. But looks like I'm making it out. So far so good. And looks like the next checkpoint is correct. I did kind of bounce around a few times over there, and who knows, I wonder if I added too many checkpoints, added the same ring twice. It's important when you're building out the course to fly through it nice and smooth so that you don't accidentally add the same ring twice or forget to add one. But it's real easy just to reset. If you turn on builder mode, it always erases the whole race. So you can't turn on builder mode and then turn it off again and then go back and race. So if you want to save your course before you turn on builder mode, that's the best way to have it around, and then you can just load it again and then press the reset button to go back to your start location. So far so good. Oh, I crashed. No good. Gotta get control of my spin. One nice thing about the weight is when you do crash with the weight, you don't get anywhere near as much spin. It just takes so much more energy to spin. So even though it still takes a long time to get control of even a little spin with the weight, I think it's still a lot easier to keep control of the spin in that case because you just have more time for everything. So here I'm docked. Now I need to move on. Make sure that my race finished correctly. So just to throw it in there while I'm doing this, at the moment there's no timer. There's no racing timer. I understand the value of a racing timer, and I want a racing timer, and it's a little bit like the ability to set up all the custom acceleration, custom rotation, all that kind of stuff. That's definitely something that I want to include in the game. And you can see here, even though I added that weight from outside of the thing, it doesn't know where the bay is. All it knows is where the weight is. So if you don't want to have a bay, and you just want to leave the weight somewhere, and you don't need a bay, you just want to leave it somewhere, and then when you come back again, you got to pick it up again. If you just want that to be an element of your races, it's kind of up to the player to strategically leave it wherever they want to, because you'll know the next hoop doesn't need any weight. If the next hoop needs a weight, it'll say next hoop needs weight. And so if you get through that hoop and then you see that it doesn't need weight and there's no bay that you're going to go to, it's another hoop, you can leave it anywhere you want, you know. And then the next time the checkpoint comes around saying, hey, where's that weight? You need this weight right here. Then it'll just be to wherever that weight is. So then that can be one of those strategical elements that the player can figure out, is where's the best place to leave it. Is it best to dump it right outside of that hoop right there, or is it best to kind of let it go halfway towards... Oh no, I did go through that hoop twice. Well, that's no very good, but let me just go through it again. When I was bouncing around there, I ended up, must have added it twice. Best I can figure. There's no ding or anything like that to, oh, how many times did I add it? It's not advancing. I wonder if when I bounced, here's an example. So when I bounced, I lost that. So my ship must have come out of that racing green, and then reactivated the trigger. So you see now I don't need a wait for that, but I'm gonna need to wait for the next one. But that was an erroneous. So normally what happens is your weight is supposed to go through the hoop first, and then that triggers the hoop to say, that means that this is gonna need a weight, and then if the ship goes through there, then it'll add the hoop to the race. But it won't add the hoop just because the weight went through. So if you add the weight and then you bounce around like that, it might untrigger the hoop so that now it doesn't know the weight was in there anymore, because you left the mesh already and the ship kind of bounced out of there. And so then when you're kind of halfway in there already, now your weight doesn't go through there at that time, which is exactly what happened to me. Kind of bounced around and the weight was already halfway through the hoop. So now the weight didn't enter the hoop in front of me because it was already there, but it didn't know that. So I'm gonna need to go through it again in order to reset up my course, and I need to not bounce off the walls, because that one hoop, it didn't know that I needed a weight. It thought I should not have one. And if it does not need a weight and you have a weight, you cannot checkpoint through that hoop. have to either have it or not. Um, I may, in the future, be able to arrange for it to not care if you need a hoop or not, which was the original configuration. But because of the way that I'm scheduling the course order by flying through it this way, I'm not placing something and then using a mouse to go through a bunch of checkpoints and check a bunch of boxes. Because I'm not doing that, I don't know how a good way to go about that would be, actually. Well, I want to end this. I want to fix it. But that's enough for now. It's a 20-minute video. It's quite long. So I'm in the middle of posting this. Right now there are no dockable weights for the rock hopper, but that's probably what I'm going to work on next. As far as a racing checkpoint system, nobody's said anything to me to make me think this. I just feel like it's a little bit like sound, like there's no sound in the game. A lot of people are just not going to be interested if there's no racing checkpoint system that's going to keep track of their lap times. They just won't even look twice at it. Same thing, if there's no sound, a lot of people are going to be like, well, there's no sound. What kind of game is this? But my game is supposed to simulate if, for example, you bought a drone or an RC car or something like that, or some toy vehicle, any toy vehicle or a toy robot or anything like that, and you were going to try to play with it in your house or in your yard or at the park, then you would not have all of that infrastructure. But you would have the potential to do a bunch of things. Like you could set up a hoop and fly through it and use your mind to keep track of your time and stuff like that, or keep track of your time on your own. So because I know how to do nothing, it takes a really long time to do everything. And so at the moment, my primary focus, my primary interest is on making all of the things that somebody who was gonna buy the toy vehicle and then go out into the yard and just be able to go do. I want that to be available as a priority. And then things like racing racing timers. And the reason why I wanted the checkpoints is because that is one of those things. If you set up some hoops and then fly around it in a course, you don't need to keep track of your time. That gives you a very unique opportunity for certain kinds of maneuvering, repetition, maneuvering practice. And even though it's true that by yourself you don't need this green, that could even be annoying. I mean, why do you need that? You know what you need to do. You just put the hoops there. You know exactly what's going on. But it is possible to share your course with another player at present. And when you share the course with another player, now it gets to be kind of hard to explain so much detail about what they should do with the course. And in some cases, it might be really obvious the order of the hoops that you should fly in. But here's an example. You know, the way that you fly through this really is impactful on the maneuver that you perform in order to fly through all three of these. So if your course is trying to focus on certain maneuvers or challenge certain maneuvers, then the exact order of the hoops that you go through them, or if you wanted them to be kind of spread out and you're supposed to fly through one and then really you're supposed to go to a specific one after that, and there's a reason for it. There's a way that your course flows as a result. You want to be able to share that without having to try to explain in so much great detail, or trying to make a video that somebody has to sit through and watch. Like this one's already 25 minutes. So the reason why I was kind of prioritizing getting these meshes, these race meshes working, is because first of all, now it's easier. You can build the course, you can share it with anybody, and then they can go play what you meant without trying to have to either figure it out somehow or hope they're right. They can play exactly what you meant. And the other thing too is you can save that, and then you don't have to remember or try to figure it out later. If you're going to make 20 courses, you're going to forget what the first one was, especially if you're kind of a casual gamer. You're going to play once here and there. You're going to come back and you're going to be like, yeah, I wish I could play that one course I put together, but I can't remember. I was so happy with how creative my trajectory through these hoops was, and I forgot it already. and this meshes that it gives you a way to remember, because now you can just play the course, and even though it's not keeping track of your time, you don't care about that. You just wanted to do the route. Now you have a way to store that without having to store it some other kind of way. It's kind of built in that you can remember that or share it with someone else. Anyways, yeah, so in the future, I do want a timer system. I want to be able to have all of that racing functionality where you can store all your times and share all your times, and other players can challenge your times with your settings, like your unique ship handling characteristics can be part of the time, and then people can say, I'll fly your handling if you want it to be slow like a bus, or you want it to be fast like a little bumblebee or something like that. Then you can store that in your challenge, in, and then they can try to compete with your time or something like that. But that is an enormous project, and I have no idea how to do anything. That in alone is at least as big as everything I've done so far. You know, I've got like 70 objects. You can place all different kinds of objects. There's an astronaut. You know, there's just different stuff. You can put these big obstacles in your way, where you can, you know, just put stuff out there that's just to be for looks, or you know, just for fun. Something that, you know, now you can put this object here, and now you can place hoops to make you fly around it. You know, you can put it there in your course. You know, and I have several different shapes of them. There's bigger ones and smaller ones. And then you can make obstacles that your hoops can move around. You know, and you can delete them and move them around, and actually you can move your hoops around after you've organized your racing checkpoints. You can move the hoops around, and it'll remember that hoop in your racing checkpoint system. You save it again. As long as you don't build race, it won't erase your checkpoints. So if you want to move your hoop, move it, save it while you still have your race loaded in. So it is kind of a thing where, I don't know, it's kind of, you can easily just accidentally build your race, and now you've erased it. So if you want to go back to racing, you can't, because there's no race. So you really want there to be some hoops, you know, and then now if I go back to racing, well, now it won't even let me. The thing is buggy. So you have to reload the level or rebuild your race, reload the level and then reload your race. I don't know. No good. Anyways, thank you very much. Check out Ace Racers SP for free on itch.io.